So backspin, something that with wedges in hand, something we all want to achieve. We've all seen the pros that these lovely shots that go one bounce, stop dead, or start fizzing back towards the flag. You know, if you hit that shot with your friends, they all go, ooh, ah, isn't that lovely? It's what we all want to do, but how do we do it? We're going to look at two techniques, one that historically used to be taught, but then also now what we know to be the case. Show you the numbers and show you how to do it, give a little bit of an explanation, but show you how much difference it can really make to your wedge game and stopping those balls tight to pins on the green. So what we used to be taught years back, before we had all these launch wonders to prove or disprove what theories actually worked, we used to think that the way to get backspin, the way to get stopping power, was to open the club face up and then cut across it, sending the ball straight up in the air, getting it to land soft. Now, what that does do is it sends the ball high. What it doesn't do is add spin. Reason being, as you see on any wedge, this is my kind of current gamer wedge, which probably needs replacing soon, but all the markings on the face, the grooves all sit heel to toe. You know, pretty much kind of dead horizontal across the face. What there are also is there are little markings and etchings in between, so small grooves essentially between the grooves that add grip, add purchase. Now on some brands these are done in sort of circular motions or in kind of U-shaped motions depending on face orientation to get as much grip as possible. However, most of the markings run heel to toe. So when you open the face up and cut across it, essentially the ball is traveling towards the toe line. So this is one of the reasons why TaylorMade have gone the foot, Cleveland full face, high toe. The grooves and the markings run all the way out onto the toe side of the face because that's where most people's strike point goes to on short wedge shots. But what you're doing is you're running the contact, easy for me to say, running the contact down the line of the grooves and down the line of the etchings. So what you're not getting is a contra direction of the markings to the direction of the wedge head and the contact of the ball's traveling. So essentially you're not getting as much grip. So what happens when we do that? So I'm going to play, this is a 50-yard shot, I've got a 56-degree wedge, so I'm going to open this up and then play it across the ball in the old school way. So it's a bit like the way bunker shots used to be taught as well. So we open the face up, aim a little bit left, and then cut across. So nice clean contact. Yeah, actually you played that quite nicely, hit the green, always a plus. But when it comes to the spin numbers, so angle of attack 6 degrees down, 8,300 revs of spin. Now that's not an insignificant amount of spin, but relative to the height that it's going at, I've had to work my club path 10 degrees across. So there's a large amount of spin axis, there's a large amount of basically misorientation of club face to target line. That also creates quite a lot of differential in what the ball can do when it comes off the face. So unless you're an extremely skilled golfer who does a huge amount of practice, what you're opening up yourself to is a lot of variation in how that ball's coming across the face. It's a glancing blow. So you only have to be slightly off to create a very high, very short shot, or get a little bit more on top of it to create one coming out flatter and giving yourself quite a large distance variable. So what do we do to counter that? So really what we're trying to do is use as much of that face as possible. So we want to get that club head coming squarer through the back of the ball. So you're running the ball up the grooves and up the face. So that way you get maximum contact on the face, but also maximum friction from all those markings across the face as well. So what happens is instead of aiming, opening your body up, open the club face up and cutting across it, what you do is you set up a little square. Now this does mean that the ball's going to come out a little bit lower, but what we are going to get is, by doing that, a more predictable flight, but also get a little bit more spin from the contact with the face. So if I set up a little bit squarer and hit a little bit more kind of pinching the ball, but trying not to turn the loft down. Essentially it's a bit like a drop shot in tennis. You work the racket face that way across it, so you're leaving the loft on, but you're hitting down through the back of the ball. That then gets a load of contact with the face, a load of friction, and should get a load of spin. So let's see for this one. So I can really feel that ball fizz up the face. So what we get there is that's then coming in a little bit lower, so it does take a bounce forward, but then stops. So for one where we've got a much squarer path, a 2 degree out to in path, 10 degrees less spin axis, So it's a much more predictable ball flight. It's also not putting a load of side spin on when it hits the green as well, so you don't have to worry about that. But we've picked up 600-700 revs of spin. Now, the ball's coming a little bit lower, yes, but then that allows you to go up in loft. So this is with my 56. If I were to play the same length of shot with a 60, that spin rate goes through the roof because I can hit it a little bit harder with the 60-degree loft. I'm getting some of that flight and spin back, but again, using all the face rather than having to cut across it and lose that friction. So in order to get spin, actually what you need to do is set up squarer and hit down on it a little bit. That gives you the most contact with the face. The squarer face gives you the most friction, the most sort of getting the markings on the face working across the line of the shot rather than down the line of the shot. Get a little bit more grip, comes out a bit lower, spins a bit more. You won't see any pro on a standard pitch shot like this throwing it high up in the air unless they absolutely have to, because a lower flight takes a bounce forward when it lands, which actually makes it a bit more predictable what it does when it hits the green, and then grabs up. So if you look at any of the major championship coverage, the tour coverage, any of their wedge shots from 50, 60 yards in are all coming in low, they're not going in high, and that is how you do it.